Okay, here we are again in the kitchen of the old fart who's borrowed it from his wife, although he made it himself some 27 years ago, all with his own little hands. As soon as it was finished, out you go. Anyway, here I am. She's generously let me steal it for however long it takes to make this. And what we're making today is an almond flour cake, as opposed to almond flour bread that was in the last recipe we did. That bread was still absolutely fabulous. So I'm really having great hopes for this almond flour cake. Now, I came across this in conversation with a friend who had come down from Canada. And her husband also has problems with blood sugar. He actually has diabetes. And so she's been searching for um, desserts that he can eat that don't have sugar and don't have carbs. And so this one actually comes pretty close. She found it online, and I will give her credit in the recipe for the place that it came from. It's a wonderful idea. She made changes to it that I've incorporated. I'm making changes to it, but the core recipe remains the same. So we start with the almond flour, 3 eggs, approximately 3 large or 4 medium lemons. Meyer lemons are the best. Of course, if you come from the Amalfi Coast, the limoncello lemons from there are even better because these are quite tart, but these are also juicier. And these two are the Meyer lemons that we have, the last 2 remaining remnants on our tree. And a little sad, but I'll be cutting them up and putting them in limoncello, which comes from the Amalfi Coast. It's a liqueur, a lemon liqueur from that area, and let them soak it up. And then I will arrange that over the top when we're all finished after the frosting's been put on. And then I use a sugar substitute. If you use sugar, it's a cup of sugar. If you use sugar substitute, use it to your own personal taste. Now, I found that I can use almost half the amount of xylitol, which I use, but you can use whatever works for you, including raw sugar, regular sugar, whatever you want. And then you've got the almond flour. I'm using this one from Welby's. I haven't tried it before, but it's bleached almonds. And then we put a little bit of lemon extract in. I've never used it before. It's filled up to the top, so I'm probably going to spill it all over the place. And then to help it rise, we use a baking powder instead of expecting it to rise with yeast. We will first put the almond flour through the sieve so that it breaks up any lumps and makes it much lighter and fluffier. I'm told that what I should do now is put the oven on at 320 degrees, so it'll be ready when I've finished doing all of this, and then we'll very much be ready to go. Now, it uses a type of baking pan where you latch the part that goes around the outside so you can unlatch it easily when you go to take it out of the baking pan. I also use a parchment paper that I put in the bottom to keep it from sticking to the bottom of the pan. So we will get to that in a few minutes. So the first step after turning on the oven is to put the 4 lemons, or the lemons you're going to use, cover them with water, and then they will be boiled for 15 minutes because we're going to use the whole lemon. Now, this is ingenious, coming from the author of this, name of Sue Moran or Moran. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. From, let's see, it's a website called The View from the Great Island, and I will put a link to that on the bottom. That's a brilliant recipe, and so we really use the whole lemon here. And then I'm going to add a few little things to myself, because after you put the icing on, which also has a lot of lemon, I will be soaking these guys cut up in limoncello, which will give it an additional rich, strong lemon flavor. I really love the sweet and sour of the lemon. Well, that sounds like the oven's ready, and I'm not. So I'll put these on to boil, and then I'll come right back to you. Okay, now this is 15 minutes later. I boiled up the lemons. I have a hard time remembering words sometimes at my old age. Anyway, I boiled them up. You can see the water has turned kind of a yellowy color. So now what I have to do is I have to let them cool so I can handle them, and then we'll chop them up, squeeze them, do all sorts of things like that. So I'll see you in just a few minutes. Okay, so we managed to get that done. Actually, it didn't take too long to cool these things down. I just emptied the pot of the hot water and poured in some cold water and a tray of ice, and with a couple of minutes, it's easy to handle. So now what I have to do is, they say, cut it into quarters and then get all the little seeds out of it, and which you do over here, because you want to keep any of the juice that comes out. And so there's no point in me talking through that. It's fairly straightforward, I think. Just cut it down here. Oh, boy, look at that juice. They're right, I should be doing everything in here. Well, they must know something. So there we go. And let's see, where am I supposed to put the seeds? I'm supposed to put the seeds back in there, but these ones are coming out fairly easily. Say use a fork, which helps. And if you have to, you can just use a little knife just to cut that sac where the seeds and the pulp all exist. That one doesn't have any. And then this one's pretty good. Oh, it doesn't have any either. I get rid of that one. I think you probably just have to make your own system for finding the seeds. I'm not finding any seeds in there. Oh, just a few seeds in that one. And then what I'll do is I'll just pour whatever juice falls on here. So I'll get on with that, and you can get on with something else as I quickly run past this. And I'm finding my way too here. First time I've done this recipe. So I'm probably going to make a lot of mistakes. I usually do. But we can still come out the other end. So there we are. Pretty messy process. Wear short sleeves or something. But I found, actually, if I just cut that, and it wasn't always necessary in all cases, you can just use your thumbs to move the seeds out, just like that. And it also squeezes a lot of the juice out at the same time. To do it is we're going to put this in a food processor and turn it into a puree. So I'll set that up and see you in a minute. And we're back. What I found was that while I cut these into quarters to help get the seeds out, I couldn't find all the seeds. And I wanted to make them even smaller to fit into the Cuisinart. This is my food processor. You can use any food processor you want. They all work the same way. My ancient Cuisinart that I've had for at least 35 years. And then and it took over from one we had even earlier than that. They're incredible machines, or at least were. I don't know what they are now. So I cut them further down. Each quarter, I cut into a half. And I found that if I ran my thumbs through them, I found even more seeds that I hadn't been able to find the first time around. So, not that seeds are a terrible problem, but it's better to get most of them out. So we want to put these guys in here. I don't want to spill too much of this juice. As I say, this is my first time round on this. I'll probably make lots of mistakes. Okay, if we drain the juice, I'm liable to lose less of it if these things fall out. I don't know. Can you see what I'm doing? I hope you can. I'll do it this way. Okay. Discovered a couple more seeds even. Okay, so we just put the top on. They make smaller versions of these, some very small ones, and you can break it down into small parts to put it all together. But what you actually need at the end of all of this is 1 cup of the lemon puree. Scrape down the sides. Now the instructions say to make it absolutely smooth and fine. I personally don't like too much smooth. I like a little texture in it. So here there's just little bits of the peel that are mixed in that will provide a little bit of texture to it. So I'm going to leave it at that point. And then we go on to the next step. See you at that step. At that step. So we've got our puree. They say 1 cup. Well, those 4 lemons, I guess we have big lemons. They made 2 cups more. So I'm going to use, since I love the lemon so much, I'm going to use just kind of a heaping cup of lemon. But first, what we have to do is we have to beat the eggs. And I like to use one of these wand beaters. This is a wand, but there are many of them. And they have choppers, they have all sorts of things, including this nice whipper. You can whip cream with it, you can whip eggs with it. So I'm going to whip them up a little bit, then I'm going to add the sugar. They say to whip them until they're pale, but it also gets a lot of air in the eggs. And just like with the almond flour bread, that air helps give it a light texture. That really should do it. Now on to the next step. So the next step is to add a teaspoon of the lemon extract. Okay, since I love the taste of lemon, I'm going to let it be overflowing teaspoon. This thing is so full, it's leaking all over the place. I just ordered this off of Amazon, Watkins. Never had lemon extract before, but it'd be interesting to see what it's like. Give it a quick whip. As you can see, the eggs are much whiter and lighter now than they were when we started. So at least on top, all the bubbles have come to the top. Okay, so now we're going to be folding this into the flour. But first, I run the flour through a sieve to get rid of all the lumps. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, while I've gotten to the stage of the almond flour, what I like to do, because you can see all these little lumps form in it when it comes out of the package, it tends to form because it's a little moister than regular flour, but I like to break those up as much as I can in a sieve before I start using them. So this takes just a few minutes. So I will race through this so you don't have to just watch me do the same thing over and over again. So there we go. Doesn't take too long. Takes a lot less time for you to watch than just for me to do it. So there we have rather lovely looking almond meal. Now we're going to fold into this the eggs, the lemon puree, and baking powder. There we go. Sorry, I forgot about that. Okay, we've got that done. And the almond meal looks very nice, I think. Very nice and smooth. Now, I'm not following the recipe quite right because I have a smaller bowl for the eggs and a bigger bowl for the almond meal. So I'm supposed to fold the almond meal into the eggs, but that's going to make up that'd be too much for that bowl. I'm going to do it the other way around, and we'll see how it goes. Wish me luck. This is why I say I make a lot of mistakes. Now it says 1 teaspoon of baking soda. I'm going to use a bit more because with the bread I found it was really necessary to use, not be too stingy with the baking powder. I always get baking powder and baking soda mixed up. This baking powder. Okay, I'll use about 2/3, I think. And then just fold it in, as they say. That way you don't beat out the air that you've just put into the eggs. So now we have the batter. Everything is folded in very carefully. Now we're going to line the pan and put the batter in and get ready to put it in the oven. Okay, we're at the next step. We're getting very close to putting it in the oven. What we need to do is put oil or grease around the outside of the pan and then some parchment paper at the bottom, which we touched on before. However, I find that if I also put some oil on the bottom of the pan, it helps me keep the parchment paper in place because it just sort of sticks to the oil a bit and makes it easier to follow through on that. We want to make sure that we put enough oil on so that the batter doesn't stick to the sides of the pan. Now this is supposed to be a non-stick pan. It's brand new. I bought it for this. We have an angel food pan, which also separates. And some people use those for this quite successfully. However, I like to follow the recipe as closely as possible in some ways and not in others. So anyway, here we go. We've done that. Now we put the parchment paper in, kind of press it around. So it kind of sticks. You can see where it's sticking there. It helps hold it in place. It's not going to stick once it's done the cooking. And now we go on to the next step, which is to turn the batter, as they call it. I guess you call it that. It's like a sticky mess to me. But anyway, we put this in and we smooth it out over the top. And voila. It's sort of like, for you guys out there, and this is really aimed at you guys who are just getting into the kitchen for the first time, sort of like when you do cement work and you have a trowel and you just kind of make it all nice and smooth, get it out to the outsides, make it neat and tidy, which makes it easier when you get on to the next step. The next step here actually is putting it in the oven. Into the oven at 325. Oh God, I'll work out what it is in centigrade and put it into the recipe that goes along with this video. So we'll see you in a little while when this comes out of the oven. 50, 60 minutes, they say. But basically, you put a toothpick in. If it comes out with nothing sticking to it, then you know it's done. Okay, we're ready to go in the oven. It's at 325. Let's see how it works out. Okay, well, the buzzer went. So we'll just check it and see if it's done. Sure smells good. Put in the toothpick. Perfect. Came out beautifully. Just put it up here to cool for 10 minutes. Or it can cool a little bit more before we do the frosting. I'm skipping ahead on this because I need to make some things to be ready for when I do the last preparation, the finish of the thing. But I need to do them in advance. So what I'm doing is, having already boiled some more lemons, I'm making a lemon zest, and then we will put both of them into a little bath of limoncello, which is a lemon liqueur from the Amalfi Coast, made with those incredible lemons they have down there. We don't have them here, but we do have these lemons straight off our tree, so they're really fresh and really good. And we just use one of these little devices to make the lemon zest, which is an incredible pure form of lemon. And we will also put them in the boiling water just for about 5 minutes because they're not as thick. And then we will soak both the lemon slices and these long, thin strips of lemon skin, the lemon zest, in the limoncello. Okay, there we have a very naked, undressed lemon, but it's all down here. Beautiful stuff. So now we've got to the point where, again, I'm putting cart before the horse here, but these need to prepare and can be sitting while I'm doing the frosting. Now what we want to do is simply take, these are a couple old, unfortunately, Meyer lemons, but they're still good, straight from our tree, the last of the crop. So we want to slice, this is a better knife, I want to slice very thin rounds. That one is just the end of the lemon. Just not paper thin, but very thin, maybe about 1/8 of an inch. Just gently place them in the pan, taking out the seeds if there are any as we go. Here's one little bugger. And then sprinkle the zest in and around. I want it all to pick up the limoncello. And then I'm going to soak this in the limoncello. This is what it looks like. Limoncello. Here we get it all nicely done like this. And I'm just going to put it in the fridge. Probably take about half an hour, during which I'll make the frosting. See you in just a minute. Now we're going to start in on the frosting. Well, all those nice things in the limoncello are soaking up, and we need 3 tablespoons of room temperature soft butter, not melted, just soft room temperature butter, which I managed to achieve with 10 seconds in the microwave, and the juice of 1 lemon. And then we will blend in, it calls for 1½ cups of confectioner sugar. And to me that's just too much sugar, and, whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to bash the microphone, and I can't eat the sugar anyway. So I use a sugar substitute. The one I use is Xylitol, which is quite a bit sweeter than sugar, so you don't need as much. But you can use whatever substitutes that you want, but it does need to be a physical kind of a substance to mix with the butter and make the icing. So a liquid one wouldn't do it for you. So you can choose any of those things, real sugar, whatever you want. The finer the sugar, the smoother the icing will be. This is fine, but not really fine, not confectioner sugar, so it'll have a little bit more of a crunchy texture. So basically, I just need to make some lemon juice. Then I'll bring in the mixer and we'll put this all together. Now we're at the last stage, almost the last stage. We're going to make the frosting, or as some people call it, the icing. I think it's icing in England and frosting in America. I don't know. Okay, well, again, what they're calling for is 1½ cups of confectioner sugar, as we just mentioned. I'm just going to use 3/4 cup of xylitol. I don't like things too sweet, and xylitol is actually sweeter than sugar. So I'm going with exactly half the amount because it's, I think, will be better for my taste anyway. So this is it's not a rule, it's nothing fixed. You can make it the way you like it. Just experiment a little bit. I put in the warm butter, room temperature butter, and then I put on the beater. Now you can use any good kitchen beater. This happens to be one of the best, KitchenAid. But if you have, one of those wonderful old-fashioned ones, even a hand beater, the kind you move around, You can even get some of those things, little like mini KitchenAid things, and Cuisinart that you put on top of a blender. There are all kinds, but the main thing is you just need something that will blend this together. Okay, well I'm going to have to rethink the xylitol thing because this is much too runny. So I will add some more xylitol to it. Here we go, my xylitol. And we'll just get actually the instructions say experiment a bit until you get it so it's just nice and smooth and creamy. It doesn't look like a frosting at all. So that's my idea of saving on the xylitol. I may have, I said juice of 1 lemon. I had a big lemon. Maybe it was too much juice. Anyway, we have to get it so it's a nice smooth icing. I think that should probably do it. Yeah, I think so. I say again, just in case anyone missed it the first time, I've never done this before. I've never done any of the recipes I've done before. So you're kind of experimenting along with me. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe I'm experimenting along with you. But this is, after all, aimed at all of you who've never done it either. You can let me make the mistakes and save you from making them. I'm going to scrape this all down and then we'll put it on top of the cake. Well, I'm not sure that frosting has really gone the way it's supposed to go. My food consultant, my wife, has gone on walkabout. Not here. No, no, no. If she was here, she'd say, "No, you idiot, that's not how you do it." But it's what I've got. So this is all an experiment. It may work out, may not. I certainly can't use confectioner sugar. So if this doesn't work, I'll have to find some other way of doing it. Anyway, okay, so we have to undo this little latch thing here. The cake pan. Let's see if it's going to stick. I hope it doesn't. You can always just run a knife around the bit that is sticking. Remove that. It hasn't risen 1 square inch. 1 tiny fraction of an inch. I don't know what that says about me. It's not the recipe, it's me. So now we want to lift it off the bottom of the pan. Slide it off. There we go. Now, the question will be, am I going to be able to get it off of this paper? I hope so. I won't be able to slide it off without the whole thing breaking and cracking and falling apart. There we go, okay. Sorry about that, just had to wash my hands. It got a little greasy in there. So now, the next thing we do is take this mess and smear it over here. We'll see how it works. It still seems to me that it's a little moist. As I say, probably too much of the lemon juice. Still, in the end, it's what it tastes like, not what it looks like. Now this pan that I just got came with this very handy-dandy thing here with that nice little curve in it, so you don't get your fingers in everything. So we just want to smear this around, cover it well. I don't know whether we're supposed to do the sides or not, but I suppose that's really up to you. If you feel capable of risking this stuff sliding down off the sides, that's up to you. But okay, so There we have that. Now, we have the lemons we prepared earlier. And we now want a nice round one to stick right in the middle. Of course, the lemons will cover up whatever yuckiness this has become. These Meyers were quite mature, so they kind of fell apart a bit. I may also have boiled them a little bit too long. All an experiment. This bears no similarity to the photos they had of it, which were absolutely gorgeous. But we can add beauty in time. Now, I've got one extra. No, I think we're pretty well covered here. I don't know that we've got room for anything else. So this poor little guy is going to have to go. Maybe I'll stick him on top there too. Now, this is all lemon juice and the liqueur limoncello. Just put that on. Let it soak down and the cake will soak it in. Not sure how much of a mess of this I've made. I think the taste test must determine whether this is a success or not. It certainly isn't a visual success. We'll just have to see if it's a taste success. So give me a minute, I'll get a knife and a plate. Okay. This is the taste test. The final determination. Have I made a disaster? Or something I can enjoy for weeks to come? I'm not going to take a big piece. As I say, I expect this to rise up a little bit more, but it just may be one of those more solid, heavier cakes. Okay, put this away. And here we have, well, that looks nice when it's in a nice little slice. Yeah. So now, the taste test. Actually, that's really good. The frosting may not be the smooth frosting that we are all accustomed to, but that slight crunchiness is rather nice. That's really good. It is a more solid cake. It's not a light, fluffy cake. It's not a Betty Crocker. It has a nice, solid, firm, but without being heavy and stodgy. That's lovely. So, if you have problems with carbs and sweets, this is a really good solution. So, almond flour, sugar substitute, one kind or another. If you can eat the sugar, then by all means use sugar. That's great. And if there's a little bit too much of the lemon, and you pour over it, it'll go in and be soaked up by the cake. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy this, and you feel free to make any changes that you want to make in what you put into it. You basically have the core recipe. And again, I want to thank Moran, who devised this recipe, and it's published on The View from the Great Island. Their website is theviewfromgreatisland.com. So you can get the original recipe there, and I will publish my version of it just below this underneath the video. Thank you for watching.